If you're not lazy, you don't just have a system. If you start writing and then stop, you start again and then disappear for weeks, this video is going to fix it. You have to stay with me to the end of this video because I'm going to be sharing with you practical step-by-step tips that's going to help you to stay consistent as a writer even if you feel you are lazy. Let's dive in. Serum here. Let's talk about writing. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the reason why you start writing and then stop. You start writing again and then you disappear for weeks. It's not that you are lazy, it's just that you don't have a system. If you were lazy, you won't be looking for how to stay consistent with writing. The first thing to stop doing is to stop relying on motivation. Motivations are not reliable. If you always have to rely on motivation, you are barely going to write. Consistency does not come from motivation or from feelings. It comes from a system. The reason why you need to stop relying on motivation is because there are days you're not going to feel motivated. It's not every day that you're going to feel inspired to write. And so in those days where you don't feel the motivation or the inspiration to write, you are not going to write. And if you can tell yourself the truth, you're going to realize that 90% out of 100, you never feel motivated to really write. So stop relying on motivation. The second thing is to make writing as easy as possible. Instead of saying, I am going to write for an hour, you say, I'm going to write for 10 minutes or even for 5 minutes. Or any time that actually works for you. It could be for 2 minutes, it could be for 1 minute. Here is what happens. There are days you are going to actually write longer than 1 hour. The most important thing is to start because starting is always the hardest aspect. And our brain has been designed in such a way that it doesn't like to get overwhelmed. So the thought of writing for an hour scares the brain, so it tries to protect you by making you feel lazy around starting to write. So what do you do instead? Tell yourself that you're going to write for a certain small period of time. If it's a book that you're writing, instead of saying that you're going to write a whole chapter in one day, you can tell yourself that you're going to write just one paragraph. What you're going to realize is that the moment you start writing, you end up writing more than one paragraph because the most difficult aspect of writing is actually getting to start. Once you start and the inspiration begins to flow, you're going to realize that you are going to be able to write more than what you have planned to write in the first place. If you're just practicing how to write and stay consistent, instead of saying, I'm going to write for 30 minutes, you tell yourself, I'm going to write for 5 minutes or even for 30 seconds. You're going to realize that by the end of the day, you're going to be able to write for more than 30 seconds or 5 minutes. The third thing to do is to remove friction. If you're always running out of topic, if you don't always know the topic to write about, then start keeping a list of ideas. Whenever an idea enters your head, randomly enters your head, pick up a pen and paper and write it down, or pick up the notepad application on your phone and write it down. That way you keep accumulating a list of ideas so that whenever you want to write, you have enough topic to write on. If it is distraction that is stopping you from writing, then turn off all forms of notifications. If you're always too tired, then make sure that you schedule your writings to be in the early hours of the day when you still have strength. The fourth thing to do is to create a writing ritual. Same time, same place, and same action. When you do this, your brain begins to associate that particular location, that particular time to writing. And that is how consistency is built. If you can make out a space in your room or in the house where you're living, you can create out a particular space and then tell yourself that you're going to stay here to write by so and so time every single day. Once you begin to do that, your brain begins to associate that place with writing. So whenever you come in contact with that place or whenever you think about that place, the first thing that your brain associates it with is writing. And that is how consistency becomes automatic. The fifth thing to do is to track your wins. You keep a stake. Every single day you show, you record it. Don't track perfection. Track consistency. Even if it is 5 lines that you write in a day, you mark it that you wrote for today. So what this thing does is that it begins to build identity. If you keep showing up every day and keeping a track record of all your consistency, you are going to get to a point where you begin to see yourself as someone that writes every day. You're also going to get to a point where you wouldn't want to miss any of your writing routine because you don't want your track to have absence on it. You have this excitement to always want to go back to your stakes and mark it that you actually showed up today. Don't keep track of perfection. Keep track of consistency, even if it is just 1 line or 2 lines that you write in a day. It has a way of building your identity. The 6th thing to do is to forgive yourself quickly. There are days you are going to miss. Definitely, work happens, life happens, anything can happen, and you're going to miss some of your days. There are days you're not going to show up, and that's very normal. Then, one thing you have to learn is to forgive yourself quickly. Don't let one day that you miss turn into weeks. Don't sit back and start, judging yourself and wallowing in self-pity and all of that. The moment you see that you miss a particular day, immediately continue the next day. Even if you miss your writing routine for like 2 days or 3 days, once you are out of whatsoever thing it is that made you to skip, continue writing immediately. Don't stop. Because if you stop simply because you missed one day, that is how one day is going to turn to weeks, to months, and then before you see it, you become someone that barely writes. You don't need discipline. What you need is a system that works for you even on your worst days. So if you are serious about staying consistent as a writer, start practicing all these 5 things I have taught you and watch how you become consistent with your writing. If this video was helpful to you, don't forget to hit the subscription button to get more writing tips from my channel.